We've come to the end of Carolina basketball camp, and it's time to find out. What are Coach Rob's thoughts about the Tar Heels after seeing them in action for nearly 2 weeks?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, June 27th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making this your first listen or watch. It means so much to us that you do so. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there and all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, usually I introduce him when I introduce myself, but wanted to save it. We got our guy, Coach Rob, Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University men's basketball team, here with us today. A 2-decade veteran of the Carolina basketball camp, wrapping up literally today. We're recording early Wednesday morning, just before he heads to breakfast, and then off to the last session of camp. And so, Coach, we're so grateful to you for making time on an early morning for us. Do you have off the top of your head what number summer this is that you've been doing camp?
It started 21 years ago. Obviously, the COVID years mess up the number, but yeah, it was the summer before Coach Williams' first year here. So after he came back from Kansas, so it's been an amazing ride, and can't wait to get to the session this morning.
I think what you all just heard Coach Rob say is that his tenure at North Carolina is longer than Roy Williams' tenure. And so, no, just kidding. Love that, Coach, man. Just love that longevity and love what you've been able to pour into those camps literally over 2 decades now. Thank you for your investment in those young basketball players and families. That's awesome. So, gang, coming up on the show today, we're going to, at the end, get to talking about Montross camp because, yes, that still happened. And yes, Coach Rob was part of what is obviously an emotional but really good time of basketball camp. Some fun conversations Coach Rob's been able to have this week. We're going to talk about his impressions that have now been formed over the course of 2 sessions in Montross camp with these guys. So kind of what are his takeaways walking away from it? Things that he's confident about, concerned about, questions about, all of that. But where we want to start is one of the things that, Coach, you talked about from last summer is you were pretty early on, even at camp, able to start picking up on that chemistry that last year's team built, that special chemistry that you don't get year in and year out with basketball teams. You know this as somebody that's coached teams forever. I know it as somebody that's coached Little League teams forever, right? It's true at every level of coaching. And so what I'm wondering about right out of the gate is, has that chemistry been present again this summer as you've watched these guys together?
Yeah, it's been good. I don't think it's great yet, and I think it will be. Cormac Ryan, as much as people hated, the way he shot the ball, he didn't shoot the ball the way we all thought he could. He was an unbelievable leader, and he completely bought in from day one when he got on campus. We need to find somebody who can step up and take that leadership role, more the vocal role. RJ leads as on the court, but he's quiet. And they follow him, but we need somebody to step up and be that vocal leader. Not sure who that's going to be yet, but they make that trip to the beach in July, and that's when that connections make, and they're together 24/7 as a group, and they're having fun and eating meals together and going to the beach, and I think that's the time where they're really going to be important this year when they start to connect, especially with the new guys.
Man, yeah, I'm with you. It felt like that trip was so critical to who that team ended up becoming. And so it sounds like they are going to take that trip again this year in July.
Sure will. Same concept.
I love it, man. That's great to hear. And I'm sure people watching and listening are elated to hear that as well. Also, it was just fun to see the pictures, see the guys hanging, being together. And so I'm sure we'll get some of that again. Cool. Thanks, Coach. That's a little insider knowledge that I don't think we had coming in right off to this thing. So we'll look forward to that. Now, one of the, I think, most interesting things that you said last week when we talked about what you were seeing and learning was that to you, at least at that point, Drake Powell had been the most impressive of the freshmen. I remember you saying things like Drake's Drake Powell's going to be my favorite. You called him a silent assassin. That phrase is stuck in my head all week long. And so what I'm wondering now is, has there been anything you've seen in the past week since then to dissuade you from that line of thinking?
Yeah, Drake's still my favorite. I love him to death. Ian Jackson's the guy. I know that's what everybody wanted to hear me say last week, but Ian has been super impressive, and he's been fantastic. Obviously, RJ's the guy, but when it comes to who I've been most impressed with, the new guys, Ian has been just, I mean, he's phenomenal. He can score at 3 levels. He plays defense. He flies up and down the floor. He's actually bigger than I thought. He's longer than I thought. I was expecting it, but he is going to be phenomenal. I looked at Coach Frederick yesterday and talked about it. He's going to have to start. And of course, there's a lot of time between now and that season actually starting. But if I'm the coach and we play today, I'm going to go with 3 guards and play RJ, Elliot, and Ian. So he's been that impressive.
Man, that's really something. And I mean, we saw that not with Ian, but in the second scrimmage that took place on Tuesday. It was a 3-guard lineup. Now, obviously, a lot of that is just like it's the regulars coming or the returners coming back. And so you had Elliot, RJ, and Seth as a 3-guard starting lineup. And so I think there's that thing, Coach, that you're alluding to, because I think to me, it's like whether Ian's starting right out of the chute or not, I think your impression is that what I hear you saying in that is that at some point in the season, you think that's what's got to happen. Am I interpreting that well?
Yeah, and I don't think his minutes will be great early. His minutes will continually increase throughout the season. And I think he'll earn that early. I think he's going to earn it enough where those minutes will come November. We're not talking about January or February. I think they'll come early.
Man, and another thing that's part of that to me is literally on yesterday's show, Pat Kilby and I were talking just wondering about Ian's defense and if it would be able to live up to that offense. And that was where Drake kind of shone, is because of that two-way all-around game. And so to hear you say about Ian's defense that it's going to be there, I think that's a critical part of him getting as many minutes as he can, because if it's just offense and then he's a sieve on defense, it ain't going to work, right?
No, not at all. And the defense is going to be the key, especially because we don't have a 6'11", 7-footer. They're going to have to play defense a little bit different. They're going to have to be really getting into people. And if he can do that, he'll play. If he doesn't, I think his minutes will go down. But I think he will. It's contagious. If you see everybody else playing that way, it's no different than shooting. When you see that ball go in, it's just contagious. Guys make shots. So I think that the defense will be the exact same way.
Interesting. And I was encouraged to see, like, down the stretch of the camp scrimmage game, felt like for the gray team, for the current team, they really got into the alumni, to the blue team a little bit there toward the end of the game. Things really tightened up. They were getting out beyond the perimeter and just man-to-man guarding really doggedly. And I know that's just one little moment, but it was a little glimpse to me of what could be even without that big rim protector that you're talking about.
They got after Cole Anthony. I mean, you're talking about an NBA player who's still, a very, very good player, a very good NBA player. And they got into him and forced him into some bad shots. And, that's what I'd like to see. It wasn't like they were just against a guy who's been, retired for 5 years. This is a guy who's still playing a lot. And that I like to see the defense against the very best player that they could find right now. Of course, the best shooter on the floor is Brady Manick. Brady's just been unbelievable. So fun to see him play, and obviously a bunch of other guys there. But it was just an amazing opportunity to see those guys up close and personal.
Man, yes, absolutely. I'm right with you. The next thing I wanted to ask you about before we get to our first ad break is any updated impressions on either of the 2 transfers, either Cade Tyson or Ven-Allen Lubin. We talked some about them last week. You mentioned how Cade Tyson is every bit what you expected, and maybe even more in terms of like height and shooting. You talked about how much you liked Ven-Allen's hands and that he was maybe even a quicker and better athlete than what you saw on film. And anything else you're picking up on from those 2 guys as you've seen them for another week now?
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. If Cade Tyson's open, he's going to knock it down. And he's bigger. I think he'll end up playing more 4, I think, than 3. I think he's different than everybody wants to be Cormac Ryan. He's not Cormac Ryan. He's not Brady Manick. He's just Cade Tyson. And if everybody expects him to be one of those two, I think we'll be disappointed. But if we just let him be himself, I think he's going to be fine. Lubin, to me, is still trying to get into the flow with the other guys, and it's still early for both those guys. But he did score this back to the basket during the alumni scrimmage the other day, and I just think he's going to get more comfortable, and as he gets more comfortable, he's going to play better.
Okay, very interesting. I know you said that Cade is not, Cade's going to be Cade. He's not Brady. He's not whatever. It feels to me after watching him shoot some now that although he's not Brady Manick, his ability to get a shot off is just about as quick as Brady's release. Is that accurate to say, or is he not quite as quick as Brady in your opinion?
Brady's a pro. I think Cade will be as he continues to go. He better be, because the level's completely different than what he's familiar with coming in. He does need a little bit of time. I think he needs a little bit more time than Brady, but the size is the difference. Because if you have a guy running at him and he doesn't see him because he's so big. Brady was the same way. You just kind of look over those guys in the contest. It's just you still get a clean look just because of the size.
Okay. Love it. Good. Thank you for that. Interesting stuff. So here's where we go next, folks. We all got to see these camp games thanks to the wonders of YouTube and some, great person sitting there recording and getting it uploaded for everybody. But what we don't all have the privilege to see is what Coach Rob gets to see throughout camp. And that is the late night pickup games that not very many people get to sit and watch, but our insider Coach Rob gets to see it and has some great takeaway from those. So that's where we want to go next. What has Coach Rob seen at those late night moments and throughout the week that is good intel that we can kind of sit on as we head into the dog days of summer? We'll get to that and more in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time. Going to Major League Baseball games in the summer is one of my favorite all-time things to do. The game, the food, everything that's part of the experience. I'm excited to do that again. All new experiences and memories this summer. In fact, I'm going to a Braves game next week, a week from today on Independence Day. Super looking forward to that. But thankfully, I don't have to sweat high-priced last-minute tickets because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. In fact, prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. So with all-in prices, last-minute deals, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Maybe you want to go to the All-Star game at Globe Life Field. How about this? Checked it out. The cheapest tickets right now are $210 on Game Time out in the outfield, but they also have a flash deal right now for $281 in the lower level for the All-Star game, man. So you should get there, go check it out. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Coach, as I said, we've all had the privilege to see the two camp scrimmage games against the alumni on YouTube because of an industrious person getting that done for us all. But what we don't get to see are these late night scrimmages. You do. So, Coach, now in just about 2 weeks worth of seeing these young men play, what are your key takeaways from the entirety of the body of work?
Yeah, the first thing is just how competitive this group is, and they got kicked a little bit around on Sunday night by the alumni, the guys who have come back to Chapel for the summer, and the Cole Anthonys and Kenny Williams and Danny Greens, and they stepped up a little bit yesterday and wanted to prove that again, 50 coaches maybe on Sunday night, and that's a big crew. I mean, so I think that's the big thing. You see how competitive it is. They're fussing at each other on every play, and trying to find somebody to officiate, and nobody on the sideline wanting to say a word because we're not going to get involved. But it was great to see how competitive they wanted to win those games. They wanted to be able to prove that they're worthy, and that's what I like to see. It meant a lot to everybody. The second thing I noticed a lot is RJ being the leader he is, knowing he's the guy. has really deferred to the younger kids to get them comfortable. He didn't try to dominate the games. He didn't try to take a ton of shots. He was making the extra pass to the guys. And Elliot got hot, and that's one of the best, I think, words that you can hear. But Sunday night, I think he hit 7 straight threes. And the more he hit threes, the more he just got fed the ball. And his confidence right now looks like a completely different player when it came to the confidence he had at the end of the season. We all know he's capable of making shots. I think it was more mental last year personally.
Agreed.
And it's one of those things that, the more you miss, the heavier that burden gets on your shoulders. And the more they left him open, the more that burden got even heavier. So his confidence looks like it's through the roof right now. And they played really well together. To see Ian play so well together with him, with RJ, those are the type of things I really like to see.
I'm so encouraged to hear about that chemistry, like between Elliot and Ian, and how they can go together. And they both talked about that, like last year when Elliot was a freshman and Ian was still in high school, about wanting to play together. And I remember Ian saying, "Man, I hope that Elliot blows up this year and is gone by the time I get there. But boy, I'd love to play with him." And so I love that because I know they've been looking forward to it. I'm so encouraged to hear of Elliot shooting like that, as we talked about multiple times last year, and I'm in complete agreement with you. I think with Elliot's shooting, it really was a mental thing last year. And so if he has cleared that hurdle and he's ready to go, that unlocks like a completely new level for this team. And I think a lot of people are going to be very excited to hear that. All right, Coach, there's 3 questions I want to ask you. Just kind of, it's almost like a debrief interview as you leave camp. And it's all in the same structure. And they are all: leaving camp, what is your biggest blank? So here we go. The first one: as you leave camp, what is your biggest confidence in the 2024-25 Tar Heels?
The biggest confidence for me is that Hubert has to play a much deeper roster rotation than he did in the past. We've had conversations at meals with the coaches. They still don't think that he's going to play more than 6 or 7. I can't imagine him not playing at least 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Just based on the numbers, based on the guys who need to play, I think the rotation is going to be much longer than what we've seen in the last couple of years.
Okay, good. Love it. I'm in complete agreement with that. That's interesting, the assistants' takes on it, though. So we'll see what wins out there. All right, number 2, leaving camp, what is your biggest concern with this team?
Obviously, everybody's going to know the post. Who's going to play the 5? Who's going to be able to guard? How are they going to guard a big? How do you guard a Zach Edey? How do you really don't have anybody to play and match them up one-on-one? What kind of systems are they going to be able to do to navigate that? So that's what I'm hoping, and that's the biggest concern. I'm hoping that they can find a solution to be able to guard that big post.
Yeah, love that. All right, third question. Leaving camp, what is your biggest question mark or yet to be determined about this team?
And I think it's the chemistry. We've talked about chemistry a lot, and leadership. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be that guy when things really get bad on the floor that can say, "Hey, guys, we're good. Everything's okay. We're still fine." And bring that little that energy, maybe that edge that Cormac brought last year, maybe that edge that some of the great leaders in the past have brought. But just it's going to come down to, and I hate the term winning time, but when those plays need to be made, who's going to step up? And I think they're really good right now. I'm not sure we're great right now. I think we have great talent, but I think the ability to put all that together is what coaching is. But who's going to get that one stop when they need that one stop? Who's going to get that one bucket when they need that one bucket? If it's not RJ, it's got to be RJ. But if he's in foul trouble or if he's having a tough night, who's going to step up and get that bucket?
Interesting. Okay. So very helpful and insightful thoughts and ideas from Coach there, again, who has been watching these guys for just under 2 weeks now. And so obviously there's a whole summer's worth more to go, a whole fall's worth of practice before things get going. But these are some of the things we're watching for. Now, in between the 2 sessions of UNC camp, there was once again Montross camp. And as we all know, unfortunately, the man himself is no longer with us. It was a heavy but good week I'm anticipating to hear about from Coach. And we'll do that coming up in just a second. All right. Over the weekend, between the two sessions of Carolina basketball camp, was Montross camp. This is something that Coach Robinson, I know, was looking forward to, but also kind of a little like the heaviness of Eric not being there. And so, Coach, would you just share with us the experience of Montross camp and everything that surrounded that this summer?
Yeah, just not sure what the mood was going to be, with him not being there. And obviously, there's a big hole there, and everybody could feel it. But the mood was actually pretty upbeat. Everybody was happy to see each other. Your father, sons, father, daughters in the gym playing basketball. It's not much better than that, especially when it's in the Smith Center. So to be able to be there, and again, there's just it's a different feel than Carolina camp. It's much more laid back. But to be able to spend time with the Montrosses. The only time I really got emotional, when Laura and Andrew and Sarah talked to start with, to just welcome everybody. That was tough. But as I was getting ready to leave, just got a chance to just hug Laura and both of us. I mean, we had a moment. It just a hurt for them. And we think about him when we're here, and we still want to continue our prayers for the family. But it's just an amazing, amazing family, an amazing thing. This is 30 years. It's a 30-year anniversary of it. They've raised so much money for the Children's Hospital, and it's something that I just love being part of.
Man, I love that. And you had told me, if I remember correctly, that you had actually gotten to spend a little bit of time with Laura and the kids before camp actually started, right?
Yeah, they walked into the Smith Center during Carolina camp just to kind of check on things to make sure everything was ready. With Travis Stevenson, who's running the camp now, who was one of Eric's teammates and a dorm mate, and so I at least got a chance to see him beforehand, which was great. Hug him and just tell him how much I missed him. So it was great. But to be able to, the whole teams are there, both the women's team and the guys team. So you get to have a little bit more interaction. I had defensive station again. That's my spot because I can yell and scream the most. So I had Seth Trimble. Who else would you rather have? I felt like it was a huge success because Seth came out wearing slides, and after he saw kind of what we were doing and how I wanted him to integrate with the kids and wanted him to be able to play with the kids, and some dads bring two siblings, so they can't always be in the same group because of age. So I have a kid who doesn't have somebody to guard him or to guard. So I just grabbed Seth and said, "Come on, you're going to do it." So 2 or 3 stations in, he went and got his sneakers on, and I felt like that was a success because I made him have to do some work. But he was absolutely fantastic with the kids. We had a wonderful time, and it's just incredible day and a half. It goes so fast, but what a wonderful experience.
Man, I love that. It's just watching Seth. I remember even seeing you had shared with me like the takeaway video or the highlight video from Montross camp, and just seeing the way he interacts with people. I feel like also seeing some of the pictures from like the Carolina fantasy camp that they do, or he was involved in that. He just seems like a good young man.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's fantastic. The kids love him. The dads love him. A lot of the dads come to get pictures with their kids, with the players, and they're all very welcoming to that. They take hundreds of pictures during that weekend, and they love that. But my team that I coached with Elijah Davis, Coach Davis's son, we co-coached, and we ended up being 5-1, had a good squad, and only lost to Cade Tyson, who must have practiced the night before because their kids were loaded. But it's just an unbelievable opportunity to be walking around and play these guys and get a chance to interact with fathers and sons and with the players.
That sneaky Cade Tyson practicing and stuff. You can't be doing all that, man. We're gonna have to get on to him for those. Coach, I know another thing that was really neat for you, just especially in the past couple days, was several conversations you've gotten to have that you've been looking forward to for a long time. And so, folks, I know we're anticipating hearing about those and some of the conversations with former players and things. We're going to get to those on next week's episode with Coach Rob. So make sure you are tuned in for those as well, because those will be special conversations for us to have. Coach, my last question for you, and then we'll get you out of here so you can get off to your last day of camp. Just as you look back on another year there in Chapel Hill, pouring into these guys, both the campers and the other coaches that are there, kind of helping wrangle all that, the players, the Carolina coaches. Any just big picture takeaways for you?
Yeah, the big thing is about relationships. Last night, the coaches' party, everybody kind of saying goodbye, but to go around and give hugs and to guys we're not going to see for a long time. Jason Feldman, camp guy here, I got to meet over the years. We stayed with him at the Final Four in Phoenix. My whole staff, all 5 of our guys, crashed at his house, and to be able to spend time with him, he wanted to make sure everybody knew he's the greatest camp coach ever. So I want to make sure I got that in. But it's the amount of hugs and the amount of text messages. Hey, when you getting in? I want to spend some time with you. Hey, we got to catch up for a meal. Hey, make sure we say hi. I want to say goodbye to you before you get out of here. And those are the things that really mean the most. It's our own group of, it's I don't want to say a clique, but it's almost like a family reunion. And when you come in as a new guy, which we brought a couple of my friends new this year, first times, they don't know what to expect, and all of a sudden you feel like you've entered somebody else's family reunion. You don't know anybody, but by the time you leave, your family. And that's what I really want those guys to, and I want them to come back and feel comfortable enough to say, hey, this is something I want to make a priority for my summers every summer.
Yes, absolutely. That's so good. And I love just again the reminder that Carolina is such a big family. And for people like you and I that aren't alum, I love how we're able to be grafted into this thing in neat ways. And so very grateful for the ways that you've been adopted in and how you get to share and spread that love around to so many others as you bring them in for camp, Coach. So thanks for what you do. And it's so good to be together. All right. We got to get you out of here to go have a good last session of camp, and then you got to get home and see your family and that special puppy. So, folks, if you have not already subscribed to the show on audio and video, make sure you do that. Very easy to be part of this thing all the time. Just hit subscribe on YouTube if you're watching, or if you're listening, you can hit subscribe right there in your audio app. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, another big, great community of Tar Heels that's come together, we'd love to have you there. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. It's exactly what Coach was just talking about. The link's in the show notes, and it's free to join. We'd absolutely love to have you. All right, y'all, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We're going to talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.